In this video, we're going to look at the other leadership election. Yes, that's right. Well, you've probably heard a lot about the Conservative leadership election, where Johnson faces off against Hunt. There's another important leadership election that's been going on in the background. It hasn't garnered as much media attention, in part because it won't decide the UK's next Prime Minister, and also in part because it's been boringly civil. But quietly, in the background, the Liberal Democrats have been having their own leadership election. There are two candidates, Sir Ed Davey and Jo Swinson. To give a bit of context, they're vying to succeed Vince Cable, who took over as a sort of caretaker leader in 2017. Cable took over without a contest after Tim Farron resigned following controversial comments about the sinfulness of homosexuality. Cable was put in place to steady the Lib Dem ship, which was polling with less than 10% of voter support. And he's done well at this job. With a clear position on Brexit and Labour and the Conservatives in a bit of a mess, the Lib Dems have gone from the party that U-turned on tuition fees to the flagship party for Remainers. They garnered over 700 councillors in the local elections in May and came second in the European parliamentary elections with 20.3% of the vote. Since then they've been consistently polling at about 20% and their electoral chances might even be improving. There's a by-election coming up in the Welsh constituency of Brecon and Radnorshire, and the other pro-Remain parties, like the Greens, Plaid Cymru and Change UK, or whatever they're called now, have decided not to field candidates. The idea is to avoid splitting the Remain vote, and if that works and Lib Dems either win or do significantly better than expected, the Remain parties might do something similar in a general election. Even if they decide not to work together, the Lib Dems are bound to get a load more seats than they've got at the moment if a general election happens anytime soon. So it's worth taking a look at who might be leading them and what sort of party they're going to be. Before we look at the election though, let me quickly plug our Instagram account. As we've shown a number of times in this video, we share all kinds of content on our Instagram, and I think you'll find it a great addition to this channel. That content even includes weekly updates of what's happening in Parliament. On top of that, on our story at the moment, we've put up a few polls to find out what you think about the Lib Dems and their candidates. Make sure you head over to follow and vote. You can find us by searching for TLDR News. You can also find us by searching for TLDR on Twitter, Facebook and Patreon. So, as we mentioned, there are only two candidates, Jo Swinson and Ed Davey. Candidates needed the support of 2 of the 12 MPs that the Lib Dems have in the House of Commons in order to be nominated. However, the parliamentary group agreed that once they'd been nominated, MPs had to stay relatively neutral, so no public cheerleading or attacking either candidate. It's actually been a ridiculously civil contest. There's been lots of mutual complimenting, and both candidates have said that they want to work closely together, whatever the outcome of the contest. Somewhat unlike the slightly cattier Conservative leadership election. Like the Conservative leadership election though, only Lib Dem members who registered by the 7th of June are allowed to vote. And again, just like the Conservative leadership election, the winner will be announced on the 23rd of July. Anyway, that's how the contest will work, so let's take a look at the candidates. So we'll start with Jo Swinson. She's been an MP on and off since about 2006, and was for quite a while the baby of the house, which means that she was the youngest MP in Parliament. She was once a junior Minister for Business during the Coalition, and is currently the Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats. She's also the bookies' favourite by quite a distance, partly because she's the better known of the two candidates, and the fact she's got a relatively big social media presence. A recent YouGov poll actually found that if she became leader of the Lib Dems, they could get 23% of the vote at a general election, neck and neck with a Conservative party led by Boris Johnson. Swinson is keen on relaxing drug law, as well as making the UK more environmentally friendly, and she's been a vocal supporter of an electoral pact between the Remain parties. Sir Ed Davey is probably the more experienced of the two candidates, and was the Minister of Energy and Climate during the Coalition. He's got pretty similar policies to Jo Swinson, and wants to decarbonise capitalism to make the UK more eco-friendly, as well as wanting to remain in the EU, although he's ruled out an electoral pact with other Remain parties. He's also floated the idea of forming a government of national unity, to avoid a no deal if nothing else could be agreed, although he has ruled it out if it was to be led by Jeremy Corbyn. He suggested spending more money in poorer Leave voting areas in order to address the concerns of Leave voters, as well as generally increasing education spending. But if we're honest, these two don't disagree on that much. Davey described the contest as one between friends, and Swinson has admitted there's not really a lot of difference between me and Ed, because actually the party's united. Perhaps the most revealing difference between the two of them is their attitude to the coalition years. Davey, who was a minister at the time and is probably marginally nearer to the Conservative Party than Swinson, has said that he's proud of what the Lib Dems did in a coalition, whereas Swinson has said instead that the Lib Dems have to own the failures of their time in coalition. Really though, small differences aside, the pair pretty much agree on everything, which sort of makes sense given that they're in the same party. Anyway, that's the current state of the current Lib Dem leadership contest. We'll continue to update you as things progress, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss a thing. You can also find more content across other social media platforms simply by searching for TLDR News. And if you want to get your name listed at the end of the video, like these people, make sure to support us on Patreon. There's a link to that in the description.